Welcome to Forever the Johnsons, where marriage meets real life.
We're Rod and Shireen Johnson, and this podcast is our open conversation about love, marriage, careers, faith, and growing together in the middle of busy lives.
And we're not here pretending we have it all figured out, because we don't.
We're learning in real time, just like you, and we wanted a space where we could talk honestly about what relationships really look like once the cameras are off.
From balancing ambition and intimacy,
To communication, conflict, and staying connected while life keeps moving.
we're talking about all the conversations that couples avoid.
And the lessons you usually only learn after you go through it.
This podcast is for the couples who are building something together.
For the ones trying to love well while still chasing purpose.
So whether you're single, dating, engaged, or even married,
Or simply trying to understand relationships better,
welcome to Forever the Johnsons.
Welcome back to another episode of Forever the Johnsons. I'm Ree Johnson.
And I'm Dr. Rod Johnson.
And today we're talking about a very interesting topic, being unequally yoked.
Yes, because there's a lot of, in my opinion, misconceptions that, oh, well, I'm unequally yoked with this person, so it ain't gonna work out. And a lot of the times people use that as a cop-out. So after today, we're gonna talk a little bit about, again, how we started off our relationship.
Unequally yoked.
And how through the power of God and the grace of God,
Yes.
that it doesn't matter if you're unequally yoked. Through Him, you can be yoked.
Exactly. So, babe, I personally think we're unequally yoked because, I was all into the spirituality of things.
Yeah, you were.
Astrology, birth charts, crystals. Baby, that was my lane. Yes, I would have called myself a believer back then, but was I truly walking the walk with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, God? Like, was I doing that? No, not really.
And how we got together was, again, just somewhat bringing up the past. Like, I remember, because of the way that I grew up, anytime I was talking to a girl, like, it was just more so like, okay, like, it's either like God's way, the way it says in the Bible, or no way. Right. And in some cases, yes, that's absolutely true. But then also, as a man, you have to know how to, like, lead your woman that way. And that's things that you really don't learn unless you've been taught growing up.
Absolutely.
Or unless you just, like, are growing in your word and you understand. So in the past, yes, it was definitely unequally yoked, because it was more like the provision was forced.
Right. And of course, I was like every other woman out there. Like, when Rod asked me what I was looking for, I said marriage because I wanted a husband. But I did not realize what being a wife actually entailed. I just knew I wanted a husband. I wanted a provider. I wanted to make sure I didn't have to go 100% on these bills by myself no more.
So when we had conversations through FaceTime and stuff, it wasn't like, are you Christian? Do you believe in Jesus Christ? All of this stuff. It was, do you believe in God? Yep. Okay,
and I
cool.
did believe in God.
Cool.
Yeah.
But there was a difference, because I came, me thinking, when someone says, yeah, I believe in God, I'm just automatically assuming, like, okay, like, we believe in the same Christian God.
And I want to put this out there. Like, I was baptized Baptist when I was like maybe 8 years old. So, like, I've been in this church stuff my whole life. My stepfather, he was a pastor's kid. So I grew up that way. I was constantly going to church, constantly in the Bible. But as I grew up, I grew out of that.
Mm-hmm. And so when I ended up finally coming up here to take her out on our first date, I remember she was in a rush, because at one point she didn't think I was coming. I told her, like, hey, I'm coming on this date this time.
He told me the night before that, yeah, he was coming, but he didn't tell me that morning of that he was coming.
And I just assumed, and I shouldn't have made assumptions, but I just assumed, as like, okay, like, I'm giving you my word, so I'm going to be there at that time.
But people typically did not give me their word, so I was very shocked when he told me he was 10 minutes away.
So when I got to her place, she's like, she's dressed, but she got to do her makeup, hair still wet. And I'm like, well, I was like, the reservation in like 20 minutes. I said, it ain't gonna take that long. So we pushing the reservation back. So she was just like, she was like, just come inside. And this is the first time we've ever like met each other in person.
And I told him, come inside my house.
And remember, we had the conversation about like, hey, right, like that was
crazy. You could have been a murderer.
but remember, we had the conversation about, okay, do you believe in God? She said yes. I didn't clarify what I meant by that, and I was just like, okay, bet. I was like, I ain't with nobody that don't believe in, like, you know what I'm saying, right? So
because I did believe in God. Like, I know that God is up there,
right?
But I also believed like the universe was doing stuff for me too.
And that's where we differ, right? So I get to the house. She lets me in. She's doing her makeup in the room. And she's just like, yeah, just take a seat in the living room or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she was like, just chill. Me, naturally, I'm, you scoping the scene. You kind of like, okay, like, is she tidy? Is she clean? Like, where's stuff at? Like,
and the cleaning ladies just came to the house, so the house was clean.
And then I'm over here, I'm sitting next to this window, and I'm like, what is this at the window? I'm seeing sage, I'm seeing crystals, I'm seeing X, Y, and Z. She come out the room. I said, hey, Shireen, I said, what God you believe
You did not ask me that. You did not. I don't remember that.
Okay. Yeah, I know why you don't remember it.
I don't remember that at all.
But regardless, she had crystals and stuff.
And all types of crystals, y'all.
So at that point in time, again, because just from historical context, I was just like, bro, I don't know if I'm trying to deal with this, right? Just because of the connotation of what this stuff means. Absolutely. When a person is dealing with it, I was like, man, I don't know. But I was also like, man, just because she may not fully believe in the same God as I believe in, does that take away from the fact that we've had great conversation, that she's a great person, X, Y, and Z? And honestly, it was just a no for me. I was like, I said, I'm not going to force what I believe on her. Yeah. I said, but through the grace of God, I was like, if I'm doing things the right way as the man, if we get to the point of like engagement, marriage, obviously we did. I was like, if I'm just consistent with what I'm doing, I said, I believe that over time, she'll be a bit more curious. Then that curiosity will turn into action. That action will turn into other things. And it did. Yeah.
And I personally, like, this is going off topic, but I personally feel like God brought Rod into my life to get me back. Because I think I talked about in a previous episode, the men that I was going on dates with were constantly talking to me about like going to church with them, God, all this stuff. And I was just like, I don't know if I really want to do that.
And I also, going back off of that, right? I think that this is me personally. You can either be one of two ways. Either you're like a little more stern, strict on like, okay, like if this woman ain't really trying to go to church, go ahead and cut your losses right then and there.
Yeah.
Or you can have the other approach to where like, man, this is a great woman, great person.
A great foundation.
Right. We all fall short in the glory of God. But like, again, if marriage is going to be about growth, how much are you willing to really grow with this person? And also as a man, do you trust in your own leadership?
Yeah.
That you're like, you know what? I can lead this woman to God.
Yeah.
And as I'm leading her, I'm also going to be growing as a man towards God. Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's really how it went. So when we were together, again, she wasn't really like doing a lot of praying and stuff. Right. But I would go into the back room and I would go pray, or I'd be like, hey, Shireen, I'm about to go and pray. She'd be like, okay.
I'd be like, okay, have fun.
And if I was with anyone, I would get mad about that because I'm like, what do you like? Okay, you don't want to pray, demon, right? Like, what's going on? No, honestly.
But no, I really had a demon in me. Like, it's crazy. Whenever I look back at it, I'm like, dang, the stuff I was doing. If I died right then and there, I would have really gone to hell.
And it's just, it was one of those things to where it progressively over time, things just started to change, right?
Yeah, so like I started praying with Rod. I didn't even know how to pray.
Which was crazy because I remember the first day that I was praying, she ended up coming to the room and she just was like, "Hey, can I pray with you?" She didn't say a word, and I just prayed for both of us. And then that's kind of how stuff started. And I know
because I'm a curious person.
And I know she was saying that she was like, well, she believes that God brought me into her life to get her closer to God. I would say that God brought her into my life to keep me on the faith, because one thing that was happening in our relationship, right, and this marriage stuff, right, you're learning how to lead. When you're young, it's hard, right? And also the fact it goes back into what we're talking about, the unequally yoked, right?
Yep.
Right? You got two ways that this is going to work. Either you're both equally yoked as far as like what you believe in, faith-wise, X, Y, and Z, right? Or you're not, and you want to see if you can work things out and find some type of common ground, right?
Because sometimes God will remove y'all from each other. You all will not be yoked ever.
And what you'll start to realize, there is no common ground. Yeah. Right? There really is no common ground. And I saw it with my grandfather and one of his and one of his wives, because he was Muslim and she was Christian. And you always wonder why, man, like, I know he loves her, but man, like, she ain't really doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Like, that it was a weird relationship.
And then, like, my parents, they ended up not working out because my mom was Catholic and my father's Muslim.
Right. So I know what was I going with this? I know with us, when it came to a lot of the problems that we had in our relationship, it's crazy. I'm really thinking about this right now. When stuff was happening in the house, all of us, like, stuff was breaking. The dog was
this was literally after we got engaged.
Yes. Yes, right? Yes. Leading up to the marriage, right?
That's when we moved in together.
And again, neither of us were on some, like, you know what, we need God in our relationship, right? We knew of God, but we weren't, like, acting in a way. And when we talk about the unequally yoked thing, if I'm the man, if I'm leading in a way, if I'm trying to lead in a way that I'm thinking is right based off of the Bible and God, right? But then your woman or your man, because it can work both ways, right? If your partner does not necessarily believe, they not gonna understand, so it's always gonna cause conflict.
Absolutely.
And then when it comes to, like, guys are like, oh man, well, my woman ain't really trying to be submissive. She being a B word, she being X, Y, and Z.
Well, are you leading?
Exactly. And it really does boil down to that, because what I've seen throughout our relationship was that early on in our relationship, when me and Shireen, when we were both not members of a church, both weren't saved, baptized, whatever the case had been, right? We could never not argue. It was like, we
used to argue like every day about the smallest of things.
And I'm over here thinking, I'm over here reading the Bible. You start trying to look for them verses that kind of that feed into your perceptions about things. And I'm over here, I was reading stuff. It was like, man, it's better.
And he sent me a Bible verse. I'd be like,
I was saying her stuff. I'm like, man, it's better to sleep at the corner of the house than be with a nagging woman. I was like, hey, you going crazy right now. Like, she's going crazy. But the closer we got to God, our marriage started to get way better.
No. When we were engaged, Rod was like separating from God. Like, Rod was involved with, like, people that they would claim they were Christians, but were doing a bunch of crazy things. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about the crazy things, but they were crazy. And when all this was going on, I, like, started praying to God more, started reading my Bible more, because I was like, ain't no way this the man God brought into my life acting like this. So once I started doing that more, and I went to Rod and I was like, hey, let's pray together. Hey, let's do this together. What really helped my journey, like, I kept getting convicted, like, stop having sex. And I was like, stop having relations with my fiance? That's crazy. Like, that's wild. But I was getting convicted. And I didn't even know what conviction was.
Yeah, and it was crazy, because, again, like she was saying, through our engagement phase, her faith was, it was weird. We weren't engaged. We were dating and talking for the short amount of time we were. My faith was up. Hers was just here.
Yeah.
We get engaged. Hers is here. I'm still here. Right? And it was crazy because I remember all of this craziness was happening. Again, she just told you. And also, gotta say, it wasn't infidelity or nothing like that.
No. Rod never cheated on me or anything like
we
that.
We just want to put
but
that
it was
out there,
crazy stuff that was going on.
But thinking about all that stuff, I'm like, okay, like my wife was feeling so convicted. She was crying and stuff. Fiance at the time. And she was looking at me. She was like, we need to cut out sex. And truth be told, I'm looking at her like.
And typically, if you tell a man you want to cut out sex, that relationship gonna be donezo, buddy.
And I had to really think about it. I was like, man, is my flesh more powerful than my faith in God? And when she wanted to cut it out, and this was like, I think 6, 7, 8 months before we were gonna get married. And
because we were supposed to get married November of 2024. Yeah.
And we were already living together.
We were living together. Right? Yeah.
So I'm over here like, man, like, bro.
Slept in the same bed.
Yep. I was like, here we go. And it's crazy again. I'll leave that out. But I'm gonna leave that out. But it really showed me how much at the time, like, I was being controlled by fleshly things and worldly things, right? And I was like, okay, well, we're not having sex. Let me go pray more. We're not having sex. Let me actually let me really I know it's gonna sound crazy, but let me focus on my wife. Like, let me really listen to her. What does she like? Like, what does she really like? What does she really want to be? What are her deepest fears? What are X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, man, that now looking back, I'm like, that was the most beautiful thing that we could have ever done in our relationship.
And honestly, like, I laugh all the time with Rod because I'm like, dang, I feel like God just don't be talking to me.
And he talks to her.
But he talks to me immediately. He'll be like, what's up with you? Like, I'm here. Like,
I done seen Shireen pray for stuff. I done seen Shireen complain about God ain't listening to me.
Then I'm gonna pray about it.
Pray about something, and it happens. I kid you not, within like a day.
Yeah, like, within 24 hours.
And I'm over here. I'm praying. I'm over here like fighting for my life in the prayer room. I'm over here like, hey man, God looking at me like, you got to keep working. I'm like, hey, what's going on?
But me, he's like, yes, my daughter, of course.
But going back into like the unequally yoked stuff, like you can use it as an excuse to continue to push people away that could be great potential partners. But due to your lack of leadership, no one will ever be a great partner for you. Yeah. Because you'll never know how to lead. Everyone's gonna have red flags. I think we all have.
You're gonna get the ick about everybody.
Yeah, and we should have discernment to where deep down, like, I should not be messing with this person. Yep. Right? But if you're having a great time with a person and the only thing that y'all don't agree on wholeheartedly is like just your faith, you have to ask yourself, can that change?
Correct.
And if it doesn't change,
it's a little harder if somebody is like absolutely stuck on what they believe in and like there's no changing them. Like, are they willing to see your point of view on things?
Yeah, because I think too many individuals, humans, we try to change other people. Yeah. And we forget that it's through the power of Jesus Christ and through God that they change people. Yeah. And they may use you to change someone, but it's not your job to do it.
To change anyone.
It is not your job to do it. So if this person does not necessarily believe in exactly what you believe in, but you really love this person, you enjoy this person, why not still be with this person? Why not? You don't have to force what you believe on this person because there's only one true God. And if he wants to get to you, he gonna get to you.
He gonna get to you.
Straight like that.
Dang. So to close us out, babe, what would you say to people that are in unequally yoked marriages?
I think it needs to start with the man first. If you're dealing with a wife or engaged or just a girlfriend and you feel like, man, this girl really getting on my nerves. This girl doing X. Not saying you, but I'm just saying in general. She really getting on your nerves. like, man, I can't do nothing right. It's gonna sound like I'm trying to pander, but I'm not, because I don't live through it. And I don't heard my pops talk about it. I don't heard other married men talk about this.
Yeah.
And you have to always look at it and boil it down to, what is my leadership like? You right now are the coach of your team.
Yeah.
You are the coach of your team, right? The whole point of what you're supposed to do as a man is to equip your wife for life. We talked about this yesterday. You're
Absolutely.
supposed to equip your wife for life. So that means
because if something happens to him, what am I gonna do?
Right. If something happens to me, or if something happens to you as a man, husband, whatever it may be, is your wife prepared, one, and two, is she taken care of?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you're not leading with that in the back of your mind, then you already doing things wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with you completely.
But yeah, unequally yoked, that stuff don't faze me. I've told you this before. There's no one that I'm around that I feel like if they're around me enough, I'm gonna rub off on them.
Yeah, they gonna believe in God.
Yeah.
You talk to Rod enough, you gonna believe.
So, what about yourself?
Unequally yoked marriages or engagements or even boyfriend and girlfriend. Child, if you're the one who believes in God, you truly have to pray for it. And then, as far as like being unequally yoked, job wise, you can always build somebody up. You can always push somebody to be their greatest self. I personally wouldn't give up on someone just because they're not making six figures yet. Look, I'm not trying to be a pick me.
Yeah, because I wasn't when we first got together.
Right. And now my husband makes a bunch of money. So it's like, you really have to look at the future, how that person is as a man. Do they want better for themselves than where they are right now? And can you help them get to that place? That's what I would say.
Yeah, we did talk about that today on the way to church.
Yeah,
no, I got some more stuff to say.
Oh.
Cause on some real stuff, this is what I've always thought. And don't get me wrong, I ain't never gonna teach our daughter this. I want our daughter to be with someone that, hey,
she gonna be with a billionaire.
Yeah, I want you to be taken care
Yeah,
of. But what I'm
be
saying is, starting off, I just feel like the reason why your life is gonna be absolutely amazing, it already is. Is because my wife, like, I was already a doctor, but again, there's levels. You don't start off making like whatever